There's a balance of responsibility between the governed and the governors that we as American citizens must recognize is currently out of balance. And by that, I mean, as the American citizens with the best set of freedoms of any civilian base in the world, we must recognize that with freedoms is work and responsibility. We can't just have entitlement and expectations that we place on our politicians to give us things. With freedoms, that means we have the freedom to take care of ourselves. So, for instance, it's not just the government's responsibility to make sure that we are happy and taken care of. The civilian base has a responsibility to understand how our behaviors and our decisions help shape the economy, help shape the market, and the lives that we live every single day. For instance, it's us civilians who create a lot of the tension that we feel every day. It's citizens who are online being hateful and cruel to one another. It's citizens who are driving in traffic, cutting each other off, honking their horns, flipping each other off. It's civilians who are making home affordability pretty difficult as we buy and sell homes and then we look to increase the price when we go to sell that home. It's not government officials who are listing homes for sale. Now, while of course the interest rate plays a part, inflation of the actual product, the home, plays an important part in home affordability. Now, in terms of home affordability, a lot of this is just simple supply and demand. Now, this is easily demonstrated through the game Monopoly. The game Monopoly starts off, every player can easily buy a property, but as time goes on and these properties get bought up and developed, well, players on the board start to get cut off because it's no longer affordable to keep playing, and eventually there is a winner. And while the game of Monopoly is a lot different than American home affordability, the reality is the foundations are quite similar and are occurring in an American life. And it's not the government's responsibility necessarily as free citizens to give us homes at a certain price. Now, a big part of the issue in these discords of conversation revolving around American life has to do with we as humans like to point to singular variables that make up a bigger issue, when in reality it's often a multitude of variables that contribute to an issue. So, for instance, we do this in sports as well. For football fans, when Tom Brady left the Patriots and went to the Buccaneers, a big discussion was it more of Tom Brady or more of Bill Belichick? Now, when Tom Brady won the Super Bowl, a lot of people started to announce, oh, it must have been more Tom. The issue with this dissection is Tom Brady left the Patriots with 20 years of coaching from Bill Belichick, downloaded information that he was able to bring to the Buccaneers. Now, while those discussions in sports are fun to have, when we have similar type discussions revolving around American civilian life, we must be accountable and acknowledge how a lot of these issues have multitudes of variables that are contributing to the effect that we experience as Americans. Now, there are certainly powerful people in powerful positions who are doing bad things that do hurt the American civilian base. However, what we can expect natural to people who strive for power and pursue power is they're going to do things to retain their own power and control, and they don't care about how it impacts the regular person. Now, what we as civilians must recognize is this is only possible when we are distracted and ununited and fighting amongst one another. Now, we don't have to agree about everything on every single topic, but we must return to civil discord. We must be respectful and grateful for one another. Otherwise, the people who are in control, who are actually making life difficult, they're going to continue to get away with it scot free. Now, right now, a lot of Americans are justifying immoral behaviors such as stealing, cheating, hurting each other, lying, deceiving, manipulating, and these behaviors, of course, destroy the social fabric that makes up the country. This creates a level of degeneracy that we've all started to feel increase, which makes civilian life more difficult. Now, this is allowed and pushed through social narratives that are pushed by the media, but it's not the media's responsibility, who makes money off of pushing these divisive narratives. It's not the media's responsibility to unite the country. It's us as civilians. It's our responsibility to unite and see these narratives for what they are. Now, as those in control continue to increase the pinch that Americans feel, and Americans then go and justify immoral behaviors to make survival easier, well, it's just American civilians hurting other American civilians, and this plays into the social narratives that are allowed to control the American people. Democrats or Republicans are not going to take the actions to dismantle these social narratives that are destroying the American social fabric. And so we as American citizens must recognize this, unite under this realization, dismantle the two-party system, and encourage individuals to think for themselves and allow for people to have differing opinions in a civil manner while still respecting one another. Now, this can only be done out of the two-party system of identity politics, which pushes people towards biases that relate to their personal identity versus true and false or right and wrong.